You're an hour into a film you already know is bad. The rational move is simple: leave. Your evening is the only thing still in your hands. The money for the ticket is gone either way, you stay anyway. You have done a version of this 100 times. Finished a meal you stopped enjoying 3 bites in. Held a stock as it fell because of the price you paid for it. Stayed 2 years in something that ended emotionally in the first 6 months. Each time a voice said the same thing: I have already put too much into this to stop now. That sentence feels like wisdom. It is the exact mechanism of the trap. There is also a detail buried in this research that flips the whole story on its head, and it involves a 4-year-old and a pigeon. I will come back to it because it changes what you think this flaw actually is. Start with the name. Economists call it the sunk cost. A sunk cost is any money, time, or effort you have already spent and cannot get back no matter what you do next. Here's the rule: a clear-headed decision follows. Only the future counts. What you already lost is gone in every version of what happens next, so it should carry no weight in the choice. The one honest question is this: starting from right now, ignoring everything already spent, what is the best path forward? Almost nobody thinks that way. And in 1985, 2 researchers proved how far we drift from it. Hal Arkes and Catherine Bloomer ran a study that has become a classic, and its power is in how ordinary the setup was. They went to the theater at Ohio University, where people were buying season tickets to a run of plays. As buyers came through, the researchers randomly gave some of them a discount. One group paid full price, another got a small discount, another got a larger one. Every person received the same tickets to the same plays. The seats were identical. The performances were identical. The only thing that differed was how much money each person had already sunk. Then the researchers simply counted how often people actually showed up. Over the first half of the season, the full-price group attended noticeably more plays than the discount groups. Sit with how strange that is. The future enjoyment on offer was the same for everyone. A play is worth what it is worth, whether you paid full price or half. The only thing pushing the full-price group into their seats was the size of the cost they had already lost. They behaved as if attending could somehow win back money that was gone the moment they paid. Arkes and Bloomer ran the effect several different ways, and it held every time. The more a person had put in, the harder they clung to continuing, even when continuing made them worse off. So the pull is real, and it is measurable. The question is why a mind would work like this. The answer runs deeper than bad maths, and it starts with a feeling almost everyone is taught to respect. Waste Arkes and Bloomer trace the effect to a rule drilled into us early: do not be wasteful. Most people absorb that instruction as children and carry it for life, and most of the time it serves them well. But the mind applies it to the wrong thing. Walking out of the bad film does not create the waste. The waste already happened when the money was spent on a film that turned out bad. Leaving does not add to the loss. It just stops you from throwing your evening in after your money. The trap is that quitting feels like the wasteful act, when quitting is the thing that limits the waste. Under that sits a second force, and it is the engine of the whole effect. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that losses hurt more than equivalent gains feel good. Losing 20 pounds stings more than finding 20 pounds pleases. This is loss aversion, and it explains what you're really doing when you refuse to walk away. You're not chasing a better outcome. You're running from a feeling. As long as you keep going, you never have to file the whole thing as a loss. The project is still open. The relationship is still ongoing. The moment you stop, the loss becomes final, and your mind will do almost anything to delay that moment, including pouring in more time you will also never get back, which sets up a cruel little engine. The more you invest, the larger the eventual loss. The larger the loss, the more it hurts to admit it, the more it hurts to admit it, the harder you keep going to avoid admitting it. Every step deeper makes walking away more painful, so you keep taking steps deeper. This has a name in the research. Barry Staw called it escalation of commitment, and he tracked it inside organizations where managers threw good money after bad, again and again on projects that were visibly failing. Not because they were foolish, but because each new failure raised the cost of ever admitting the first one. The largest example ever built flew at twice the speed of sound. Britain and France spent decades funding the Concorde, the supersonic passenger jet. Long before it entered service, the economics were clear. It would never make its money back. And still both governments kept pouring funds in, year after year, precisely because they had already poured so much in. Turning back would have meant admitting the whole thing was a loss. So they finished a plane they knew could not pay for itself. The pattern earned its own nickname from this. Some researchers still call sunk cost thinking the Concorde effect. Now, the detail I promised, the one with the child and the pigeon, you would expect this bias to be primitive, something baked deep in the animal brain that clever adult reasoning has to fight against. The research points the other way, and it is genuinely strange. Arcas and another colleague looked at how children handle sunk cost situations compared to adults. The young children were more likely to make the rational choice. They walked away from the bad option more readily than the grown-ups did. The adults, with all their extra reasoning power, were the ones who clung on. And when researchers looked at animals, the picture held. In careful tests, animals largely did not show the classic human sunk cost pattern. They tended to judge whether continuing was worth it from where they stood, not from what they had already spent. Turn that over for a second. A 4-year-old and a bird both walk away more sensibly than an educated adult. That tells you sunk cost is not some leftover animal instinct. It is something we build. It arrives with the very things we are proud of. The ability to track what we have invested, to tell ourselves stories about persistence, to feel the weight of a commitment, and the shame of a public reversal. The trap is made of our sophistication, not our lack of it. Which is also why simply knowing about it does not make you immune. The Concorde was not funded by naive people. It was funded by economists and officials who could have explained the sunk cost fallacy on a whiteboard. Awareness alone does not switch it off, because the pull is emotional, not logical. You cannot reason your way out of a feeling by naming it. But you can change the question you ask. The fallacy lives inside one question. After everything I have put in, how can I stop now? Every time you phrase it that way, the past is driving. The escape is a different question, and it takes about 5 seconds. If I were arriving at this today, with none of the history, knowing only what I know now, would I choose to start? If the answer is a clear no, the history is not a reason to continue. It is just the price of finding out. That reframe has a name too. Researchers call it thinking at the margin, judging the next step on its own merits, rather than on the ledger behind it. It sounds simple. It is genuinely hard, because it asks you to feel the loss now instead of postponing it. And the whole machinery of loss aversion is built to help you postpone. So here's the shift worth carrying out of this. Refusing to walk away almost never protects the thing you have already spent. That is gone regardless. What it does is add to the pile. More evenings, more money, more years, laid on top of a loss you refuse to name, in the hope that enough investment will somehow turn a bad bet into a good one. It never does. Walking away is not the waste. Walking away is where the waste finally stops. The bravest thing the mind can do is treat what is already gone as gone, and choose the next step as if the past had no vote. That is the cue most people miss. If you have ever stayed in something long past the moment you knew, leave a comment and tell me what it was. Subscribe to Psychology Q, and I will keep showing you the signals hiding in plain sight.